Greetings everyone and welcome. I'm your host Captain Rye, and in today's video I have the USS Alaska. This will be another formal review on the ship, and of course this time you can now actually go and get her yourself should you feel so inclined. Now a little bit of back history on the Alaska in the game specifically. This, like the Scharnhorst, is one of the very few ships that people have been asking for since the alpha test. Well, at least jokingly in the alpha test, but basically since the beta dropped on all of us way back when. USS Alaska when? Well, USS Alaska now. As the battle gets underway, it's hotspot. It is domination match mode. And while I did spawn closest to the B cap point, the B cap point is very exposed, and so I don't necessarily want to head there. Now, this ship is technically a cruiser, although thanks to recent mechanic changes that have been made in the game across the board, so it isn't just to this ship, it is at the very least listed with its like kind, the Stalingrad, the Kronstadt, and the upcoming Azuma, when that ship does end up dropping as well, as a battle cruiser for fire duration. So the fire duration on the ship has been increased. It's no longer the same low, short period of time as regular cruisers. It's more akin to a battleship. So that is something that I did have to factor in here when thinking about this vessel. Fortunately, however, even though that may be the case, there is a good amount of health on this ship. And even though the fire duration and the fact that this ship does have an affinity for catching on fire just like that, it can be overcome and it can be at the very least countered because the ship has a reasonably low detection range considered for what it is, which is that battle cruiser, and the fact that, well, its gun range is quite significant as well. Now, as I've approached the A cap point here, the enemy team has taken an early lead here. They have killed 2 of our 4 destroyers. They have lost 1 in the process, which is a little bit unfortunate for my team. As I always say, the team that gets the destroyer advantage early on usually goes on to victory, and considering we lost at least 1 of our good tier 9 destroyers, specifically the Fletcher that rushed up to the B cap point, that could be a little bit of a problem. Additionally, getting shots off at the Cleveland that was passing there, he was able to get away there, and as I push up in here, I am detected. Now, I do have radar, and I do have the radar consumable, or the radar module on this ship that increases the duration of this consumable to a ridiculous and whopping 42 seconds. Now, as I push around here, I am in a little bit of a bad situation. I can't quite spot what is detecting me. Really annoyed by that. I have armor piercing loaded, fire off at the Cleveland, hoping for a big hit there. These are 12-inch guns, but they do have the penetration values of 14-inch guns. So you are going to be able to penetrate reasonably well on cruisers, especially more armored cruisers, as we'll see in the game. Still have armor piercing loaded, but I've got a broadsiding Montana in the distance. He does manage to connect with me. The armor on the ship is decent if you're angled, although the stern armor not the best in the world. Do pop my heel here, so I'm going to start recovering a lot of that health there. Provided this Montana doesn't land any more massive hits on me, I should be okay. He's creeping forward slowly, so I'm going to go ahead and drop the lead on those shots way back there. The range of these guns is good. The speed of the shells is also pretty decent. You'll notice, unlike some other heavy American cruisers at tier 9 and tier 10, looking at you, Desmonas, you don't have to provide an ungodly amount of lead because of the slow velocity. In this particular case, the shells are a little bit higher velocity, which is probably why they've got slightly better penetration values than just a standard 12-inch shot. Again, firing off the Cleveland here, trying to finish him off. My team manages to take out the second enemy destroyer, but the enemy team is currently in the points lead, and they do have a points advantage and a cap advantage here, as they had both the C and B cap point. The C cap point currently being contested, but the B cap point uncontested and unmolested. So they're gaining points at a rate that we simply can't even match because we don't have a cap. Now, hopefully our Shimakaze will push up here into the A cap point and grab it. Didn't manage to connect and kill the Cleveland there. That goes to our Desmonas there. But that's okay. The Cleveland's dead. That's a very annoying fire starter. Unfortunately, Cleveland not alone, as the Seattle Tier 9 U.S. light cruiser right above the Cleveland is also quite capable of setting a lot of fires. Now, Des Moines is firing high explosive at the Seattle. This might be due to his lighter armor, although if the Des Moines really wanted to, given the armor and given the way the Seattle is running away, he probably could have fired armor piercing and likely have penetrated through the superstructure into that Citadel. I know I certainly could have, which is why I never switched away from the AP. Team is finally starting to capture the A cap point. We do now have a ship's advantage because we killed that Cleveland. That has kept us in the game just a little bit longer, but again, the enemy team still holding the advantage here with the B and C cap points. However, if you look at it, we do have a very low health Massachusetts that is about to die. They also, though, have a couple of very low health ships themselves, including a very low health Fletcher class destroyer. So if he could die, that would be wonderful. That would certainly help my team out here as we push into the midpoint of this battle. Firing off more shots, did connect there, didn't do a lot of damage. Kind of disappointed. That is something that you will find with these guns. You are going to get unfortunate bounces from time to time, so these guns can be a little bit trollish. Now, in sailing into the heart of this thunderstorm front, which means the detection ranges are going to be massively reduced. Specifically, when you don't fire, your detection range is actually reduced quite a bit here. So, as this Zhao fires and drops off detectability from spotting, I'm unfortunately having to kind of guess where he is at. Now, I push up behind this island here. I am being detected. This is probably the Zhao that is detecting me, and yes, it is the Zhao who is detecting me because he is ranged to do so, which meant, of course, that the enemy Minotaur was also able to detect me and shoot at me, and he is going to constantly switch back and forth between me and other people. Enemy Seattle getting shots off there, does manage to connect as well. This really annoys me. Pop my radar because I know that Minotaur is definitely in range, and fire off shots here just as he's trying to disappear behind that island. Did connect, no citadels there though. Not a lot of damage, not as much as I would like. Now, while I am on fire and I'm going to let that burn for a little bit here, I'm going to push up just a little bit, try and get my shots off in position to annihilate this Minotaur. Pushing forward here was a good decision here, as the enemy Zhao did fire off torpedoes. So, unfortunately for him, he fired a widespread and I was able to just creep forward and avoid all of those. I'm not alone in pushing forward here. I do have a battleship that is next to me. I do still have that tier 10 cruiser that is right behind me. And that is when the enemy Montana decides once more to give me broadside. Because this ship is technically classified as a cruiser, you'll look at this dispersion there on the shots. Those are just glorious. Managed to connect a Citadel. Yes, that's right, a Citadel on that Montana at these kinds of ranges. So, we know that the guns are capable of penetrating and are capable of doing a good amount of damage. As that Montana is continuing to broadside against myself, our friendly battleship here, and our Des Moines, he is taking a lot of damage. And very, very shortly, we'll probably start contemplating his life choices as he tries to turn away, but that's not going to do him any favors, as there is an island in his way. Enemy Minotaur has managed to escape the potential wrath of a Des Moines, an Alaska, and a Bismarck closing in on him. Thinking about switching over to the high explosive here. The high explosive is okay, and against an angled ship like this, it probably would have done okay, but obviously the number of ships shooting at him, the armor piercing was going to be fine. And I actually find that the armor piercing does land pretty consistent damage, although the high explosive does also land pretty consistent and reasonable damage. But I have found that it doesn't quite set fires at the same rate that I would like them to. Firing off shots at the Zao did manage to connect. 2 penetrations, no damage done there. I really wish Wargaming would fix that. If it's a penetration, it should cause damage. If it was just a damage module, give me something different. Managing to fire shots over this island here, so fortunately for me, not a lot can be shot back at me because of this island, at least with the lower trajectory shells, although that enemy Salem could probably get shots off at me. Enemy Daring and enemy Seattle pushing back up. They are actually shooting at our friendly Moskva, who does not have a lot of health left. As much as I would love to go down there and chase these 2 ships down, I also have to remember that my team does need my big guns to help with some of these cruisers, because if anything, the Alaska is a cruiser killer, and it does an excellent job at that. These big guns, when they hit accurately and will oftentimes hit for a lot of damage, even if it's not Citadel damage. As we've seen, most of my hits have been pretty consistent at 4,000+ damage regardless of the target. So now this enemy Zao is pushing around the corner here. I'm going to fire shots off. Hopefully I can land these hits here, but you can see here more shots coming in. I do manage to connect. Actually got a ricochet on that, a bounce, and 1 over penetration, so didn't manage to land that consistent large hit. The enemy team's still up on points here, and they're keeping this game tight as they manage to kill yet another ship, and that's probably going to be our friendly Moskva at the A cap point. Because the Moskva is dead, there's nobody left at the A cap point to defend it against the enemy Daring and against the enemy Seattle. And the Seattle, well, he's an American light cruiser, so he has a pretty low detection range. And he could also light a lot of fires, which means if I fire my guns, he will probably detect me, and he will probably shoot me and likely light me on fire, as the Salem, are tag teaming our friendly Bismarck here. In the meantime, though, I'm going to push up towards the sea cap point. There's the enemy Salem that is up here. He is actually broadside onto me behind that island, so I'm going to fire off over the island here. I don't think he realizes I can shoot him, but I can. I do hit him. Some over penetrations there, a little bit disappointed by that. But as a result of firing, I am now detected. That's going to be the Seattle that's detecting me. It's going to give the Salem an opportunity to shoot me. Enemy Minotaur going to come out from behind this island here. He briefly drops off detectability, but I'm well inside of his range. Managed to Citadel him, cause a lot of damage, knock his engine out here. But here's the thing to think about. Remember, it's a Minotaur. It's a British light cruiser. Means it has a heal, which he's using, and it also has torpedoes, and a lot of them. Now, this Minotaur has decided, in all of his infinite wisdom, to turn broadside on to an Alaska, and that is a double Citadel and a lot of damage. Used my damage control when I was double set on fire, got hit by a torpedo, so I'm dead. The Minotaur is dead, fortunately. Popped my radar in a last-bit effort to spot this Salem, fire off these last shots right into his bow, and can I hit him? Yes, I do. Citadel through an angled bow plate on a Salem and finish him off. Although he probably would have been dead from those torpedoes anyway, but it's always wonderful to get that "'tis but a flesh wound" award. The enemy team is now in a bit of a bad state, as they are now down to a Seattle and a Daring. My team still has a destroyer in the form of a Shimakaze. We still have a cruiser. Actually, we have 2 destroyers now that I look at it. We still have a cruiser, the Des Moines, who has, well, almost all of his health left. The Bismarck did manage to survive, and even though he's only a Tier 8 battleship, his secondaries can really cause some serious problem to both of those ships, provided they are detected. The enemy team has managed to capture A, so that's going to give them points again. They are currently still in the points lead, and now they've stepped on the B cap, so they're going to stop us from gaining points. But we are capturing the C cap point. Now the Seattle here has decided, rather than reset the Des Moines at the C cap point, who is definitely detected, they're going to shoot at the Shimakaze. It's an arguable and questionable decision here. Yes, on one hand, you are taking out a destroyer that could cause you some problems, but on the other hand, it's a Shimakaze. And you are an American light cruiser, which means you can easily dodge his torpedoes. You're going to see them anyway. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, that radar is lasting a god-awful long time, and the daring there has him lit up and is able to secure the kill on our Shimakaze. That's going to give the enemy team, again, that points advantage. And now with the Shimakaze off cap, they are starting to cap the B cap point. Luckily, as I mentioned before, the secondaries on the Bismarck managing to punish that daring, allowing our Des Moines to secure the kill. Now, our Des Moines is sitting on 4 kills, I do believe. Oh, no, never mind. He did secure his Kraken Unleashed. It's a little bit difficult to see that in the chat down there. So he has secured his Kraken Unleashed. It would be wonderful if he could get 6 kills out of this. He really is helping carry our team to victory. At this point now, though, it's just the Seattle. He is all by himself in the B cap point. He has a Bismarck that could cause him problems, and we still do have a destroyer left. Even if he has a radar, that could be a serious problem given how much health he has left. Unfortunately for him, though, he's trying to back up. The Bismarck secures the kill there, so good for our Bismarck. Caught between a rock and a hard place there. 1.17 million credits earned in that game. 134,000, almost 135,000 damage done. 5 citadels, only 1 kill. No major awards in that game, but still a pretty solid game. Second on the team for XP earned at 2,200 base XP. That Des Moines, who got the Kraken, of course, really did carry the team, so shout out to him at 3,000 base XP and 5 kills. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope you got a good sense of what the Alaska is capable of, and maybe some of its weaknesses and flaws there. And hopefully, if you do decide to pick it up, you'll love the ship, or at least love looking at it in your port. If you'd like to get semi-regular channel news and updates, you can do so by liking and following me on Facebook. If you've got a replay like this one that you'd like to see featured on my channel, you can send it to my email. And if you'd like to watch me play various games live, albeit incredibly intermittently, you can do so by following me on Twitch. You can find the links for all of those in the video description down below. And as always, I'll see you next time. This is Captain Rye, signing off.